What's up, everybody? It's the BFF show. My name's Brendan.
I'm Franco.
Welcome yet again to another edition. It is Tuesday night, April 24th. I know that because my computer told me so. And we are gathered once again here to deliver unto you a wonderful BFF show. I'm feeling good. Franco, how are you feeling this evening?
I'm feeling great. We actually are on the eve of travel to Las Vegas from Super Pump 4. And also, tonight we are trying out a new technology on my end. We have a brand new HD camera. So you're seeing me in a little more clarity and a wireless mic set, which is why we have two lapel mics. So don't be weirded out by it. Just us bringing you a better product.
And I'm doing my best to balance that out by lowering the standards on my end by including laundry over my shoulder that I didn't move from my studio. And you can see my mic. And so I'm going, as you're rising, Franco, I am lowering the standards so we can still maintain the quality we've had since day one, because I don't want to sell out. I don't want to sell out, Franco.
Never.
We'll never sell out. But you did mention Vegas. We're going to sidebar Vegas for right now.
Okay.
I'm excited about it. I don't want you to interpret my sidebar as anything less than just giving it the proper time it deserves as we move ahead in the show, because we've got lots to cover, Franco, and I hope you're okay with that.
No, I'm good. Let's train through these depots.
Let's do this. Let's do this. We've got a lot to talk about. NBA playoffs have started. The big story, they are still in the throes of round one. The big story over the weekend, though, Franco, was the Oklahoma City Thunder. Russell Westbrook, star player, getting kind of testy out there, getting angry. 4 fouls in the first half of his last game, fouling out to the Utah Jazz, to the point where even Mitt Romney is intimidating the Oklahoma City Thunder, which is really bizarre. I saw that headline on ESPN and I was like, why? What's happening? So Franco, walk me through what's going on in Oklahoma City, in particular, what's happening with Russell Westbrook.
Well, first off, is it jumping the shark for the NBA to have Mitt Romney in the front row pulling a Spike Jones? I think we've jumped the shark, right?
We have. No, it's a bridge too far.
It'll normalize itself soon, don't worry.
Yeah.
So Westbrook had the game before a triple-double dropped on him by Ricky Rubio. That Ricky Rubio, who's been around for a really long time, was on Timberwolves and got traded over. And he reacted by being overly aggressive, fouling out, and taking their best scorer out of the game. And this is already Oklahoma City team that's struggling because Paul George isn't gelling as well with the team. Westbrook is a ball hog. And then you have Carmelo Anthony on his deathbed. So him being out of the game essentially cost them the game and probably the series. So the question is, one, we thought that maybe it was Durant leaving Westbrook because Durant was a prima donna. But now we've seen different players leave Westbrook and do better. Durant won a championship with the help of my Golden State Warriors. But Victor Oladipo is playing incredibly well once he's away from Westbrook. And now we bring in Paul George and Carmelo Anthony to Westbrook and they're not playing well. Is he the X factor? Is he the problem?
You make a compelling argument. I think that's pretty much what might be happening. I was reading an article this morning that talked a lot about how, you're right, he is a ball hog, and that it tends to, when he's not in control and he's not in the possession, he kind of stands around. He doesn't really move and he doesn't really do much. Some great sort of footage of him trying to lazily set some screens, and even the Jazz were confused about what exactly was going on. He just seems to be kind of meandering, which doesn't bode well, where you have Carmelo, who also acts the same way, who once the ball gets into his hands, it's in his hands until he's done with it. And right now, it appears that when he's done with it, means that he misses a shot. So you have Melo, who they're hoping and praying, if you're Oklahoma City, you're hoping that he doesn't opt into his $20+ million, I think it's $24 million opt-in that he can take as a player's option, because he's done absolutely nothing. And then you have Paul George, who during the summer talked a lot about, and you heard rumors of, going to the Los Angeles Lakers, because that's his hometown, that's what he wanted to play for. So I don't know, Franco, if this might be the end of this experiment of a supergroup if they can't get past the first round.
Yeah, I'm not sure you can call it a supergroup. I think you can call it maybe like the last grasp after losing Durant to prove relevancy. I think we learned that Westbrook is a great individual player. He's an all-star. He's very passionate. He's not a good teammate. And I think that's going to be the death knell for that franchise as far as he goes. If they're smart, maybe they unload Westbrook, who is a UCLA guy, keep Paul George and build around Paul George. It won't happen that way. Paul George is going to LA. He's been super polite about it. He's like that friend who you write for dinner, and then your family cooks a really bad meal, but he is just putting the brave face on and eating all of it and asking for seconds because he feels bad. That's Paul George right now in Oklahoma City. But he's gone. Make no mistake about it. And Anthony will definitely opt in. If I said Brendan, as the BOB show, the old show, as a BFF show, even though your quality of production's gone down a ton, I still want to pay you an extra $1 million on top of the $0 we make now to stay on. Are you okay with taking the extra $1 million, even though your quality's not that good, or would you opt out of the $1 million to improve your product?
Oh, I'm taking that $1 million because you gave it to me technically to begin with. So that's on you, and I can buy a lot of tanks. And I want to go back to what you said earlier about the dinner. Are you talking about when you came to my parents' house to eat?
No. Your parents cook amazing. I loved the moose loaf. It's just a generic kind of thing. If you ever listened to Rapper's Delight, I was referencing that family.
It's okay, man. Hey, my mom goes on good streaks with food and then has some slumps, like everybody. You can't. Sometimes it happens. I want to quickly go over and let's just highlight some things that are going on right now in NBA playoff world. Franco, we've got the 76ers up against the Miami Heat. If the 76ers win, they win the round, and they're up right now, 74-59, 2 minutes and 50 seconds left in the third. And we also just wrapped up the Celtics and Bucks. Celtics beating the Bucks 92-87. Boston leads that series 3-2. And your Golden State Warriors are playing the Spurs tonight. The Warriors are up 3-1. Franco, do you think that your team, the Warriors, are going to make it out of the first round? But more importantly, do you think they make it to the finals?
Absolutely. I do think the Pelicans will provide a very steep challenge for them. Anthony Davis is playing next level. Anthony Davis is the player that Russell Westbrook should be. So we'll see. But I think the Warriors make it through. My question for you is, looking at the Eastern Conference, I think the Cavs will come out of this series, but are you sure anymore who that team will be out of the Eastern Conference?
No, because watching LeBron James do everything he possibly can to will this team to win, I don't know at his age if this is the finale or is this still part of his last act that he had a couple of years ago, and can he power his way through? I don't know, because there's going to be a point, Franco, where we're watching LeBron James and time is going to catch up to him. It catches up to everybody. So I feel like that we might be asking too much of LeBron with this team of a bunch of guys that, while they did get younger and they made it into the playoffs when that didn't seem like that was even possible at midseason, I don't see how LeBron can sustain this with the miles he's already got on his body, plus the fact that he doesn't seem to have anybody that complements his level on that team. You have Kevin Love that's just kind of there. He was supposed to be the guy. You have R.J. Smith who's coming off the bench now. That's supposed to be your dangerous three guy. Not really
J.R.
doing much.
Smith.
What's J.R. Smith?
R.J. He's played so bad that you've switched the letters around. That's fine.
I was kind of right, but you know what I mean. So essentially,
yeah.
Exactly. That's indicative of it's LeBron James's team. So I really am excited though about the 76ers. I think they have a fun team. You have Joel Embiid back from his injury. He's playing with the mask. Ben Simmons, who's probably going to be Rookie of the Year. It's just a very exciting team to watch, and I think the payoff of the trusting of the process, Franco, for the last 5 years or so, while maybe doesn't come to fruition, I really want to see a Cleveland-Philadelphia series and see what happens. And I think that's really the most intriguing storyline that could happen, is if Philly and Cleveland meet, simply because who's going to win out? The young team that has built a nucleus and fast-tracked their long-term potential, or is it going to be the old guard of LeBron James that has one last power through that he can get to the finals, and then we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, So you didn't answer my question, but good. I think my sure bet team is the 76ers out of the East. I'm interested to see how the Bucks fare against the Celtics in Game 6. We'll see. I think it's an interesting series. I'm interested to see how the Jazz play. The Jazz have played a really understated kind of basketball that I think will drive them deep. I hope we don't see the Rockets in the Western Conference Finals. And I hope we don't see them. I mean, I just don't like the Rockets. I don't like James Harden. I think he and Westbrook were kind of the same dude. But, I mean, we can all admit now I think Harden's better. But, yeah. How in the world did these Thunder not win with Durant, Westbrook, and Harden is a whole other mystery. But
that's like you have to unpack that, man. I don't know. That's insane, especially with hindsight and the highs of Durant. It's just I don't get it, man. I don't get it why they did it when at the time that they did it when they seemed to have that potential, but we'll have to see how that goes. But I do want to go, Franco, to what's happening Thursday, and that is the granddaddy of them all. That's not really true. It's the NFL draft. It is a 3-day palooza, 4-day, I think, actually, of drafting, fun, but really the first 2 nights count the most. And quarterback controversy abounds with the Cleveland Browns, once again, with the number 1 pick. Now the rumor, as of 9 a.m. this morning, when I was listening to the Dan Patrick Show, and it was picked up by other media outlets, the rumor is that the Browns really, really like Baker Mayfield, and they may take him at number 1. So now we've had the carousel between Allen, Rosen, Mayfield. We had Darnold, and the list goes on, and it's crazy that there's no inkling, Franco, of exactly what the Browns are going to do. But there is also a very high potential that the Browns screw this up, even though they've got 2 picks in the first round. So if you were the GM of the Cleveland Browns, Franco, what are you doing with that number 1 pick?
So when you say GM of the Cleveland Browns, do you mean John Dorsey or do you mean Kevin Costner from Draft Day?
Either or.
You know, if I'm Kevin or Costner from Draft Day, I'm trading back 10 rounds, trading back up 3 rounds, picking a running back, and then picking up Nick Chubb, then trading back into the first for a cornerback and possibly Barbra Streisand. If I'm John Dorsey, if I'm making the decision, I think I pick Saquon Barkley, my first pick, who's the surest pick of the draft, I think. And we kind of saw what Ezekiel Elliott did for Dak Prescott. And everybody seems to forget that Tyrod Taylor is one of the best, I think, the most underrated quarterback, we'll say that in the NFL right now, who doesn't turn the ball over. And Cleveland had a top 10 defense last year. So if you cut down the turnovers and you improve the quarterback play even a little bit, it makes them viable. So the rush for the quarterback, I don't think should be there. And if this Mayfield stuff is valid, then wait for 4 and pick him there. Because we know Mayfield's not a fit for the Giants. So I go Barkley, wait 4, pick up Mayfield. If Mayfield's somehow gone, you still choose between Allen and Rosen, I think. I think Darnold will be gone, and that's fine. But that's where I'm at with that. How about you? What are you doing if you are Dorsey, who doesn't look anything like Kevin Costner?
I think I got to go with Sam Darnold. I just feel like he's more complete as a player. I think that makes sense. If you're the Browns, see, this is the problem. There are too many quarterbacks with potential in the first round that there's a higher probability that they screw this up. It would be better for them if there was just one guy that you could pick as a quarterback. Because clearly, even though Tyrod Taylor is who he is, that's not your future, and that's not your franchise. You have an opportunity to pick a franchise quarterback, and I think that you go with the guy that, for all accounts, is the most well-rounded in terms of being able to start relatively soon. I think the knock on Allen was great arm, but he needs a year in a system. And then Baker Mayfield, same thing. He's going to energize your team. He's a team player, but he's not quite ready. So then you have Darnold and you have Rosen, and I think, honestly, it does kind of be a bit of a crapshoot, but I do like Darnold just a little bit. That means that the Giants, that are really interesting, they're the next biggest storyline to me in this draft. is because they could potentially take a quarterback and start the bridge of transition from Eli Manning to the next generation, or do you go all in, which by all accounts through free agency, signing Nate Soldier, hopefully keeping Odell Beckham Jr. if they're smart, and then you give Eli a chance, then you take Barkley in that with that second pick, because as you said, he is the surest thing and a guy that could immediately help them out. So I think that's what they're going to end up doing, and then it gets really fun for the third pick, which is your New York Jets. I'm just kidding. They're not your New York Jets. They're not anybody's New York Jets. So maybe that's where Baker Mayfield goes, because that personality seems to match that what New York Jets might be looking for. And I don't think there are any expectations. That's the problem with Cleveland. The expectations are so high that you have to be the savior. I think with the Jets, they're just looking for somebody that's entertaining and decent at this point. They may not be the best at the moment, but perhaps they're going to actually do something interesting. And then you have, again, the Browns picking, and I think they're picking, what number are they picking, Franco?
In the late teens, yeah.
Late teens. So you have the opportunity to pick up maybe a complimentary guard or something like that, but there's a high probability that when you and I are in Vegas watching this live, that we are going to lose our minds at how dumb the pick was, or solemnly nod our head and say, well, they could have done a lot worse.
So there's another quarterback you're not mentioning who I think is significant to be in this conversation.
I'm
going to let you redeem yourself here and give us the name.
I know. I forgot his name. You gotta bail me out.
My man Lamar.
Nice.
All right. So here's my thing. Since we're all about taking wild swings at the BFF show.
Yeah.
When we look back on this show, which we will never do, because I personally don't watch back these tapes after editing them once, but let's pretend like we go back in the archives occasionally just for research purposes.
Yeah.
I think 3 years from now we're having this conversation. I think we're saying Baker Mayfield was fantastic, and he is what we thought he was, and he matured very quickly. And I think we're saying Lamar Jackson is fantastic and should have been drafted well earlier. Darnold is going to be serviceable but not fantastic. Allen lacks the accuracy to be great, and he's lacked that well before college. You can't say the college asked him to do too much. In high school, he was below 70, or I think below 60% passer. And way back to Pee Wee football, they actually did a study on this. He's less than 60%. So he's not going to suddenly become more accurate. And that's dangerous in the NFL. It's almost Jamarcus Russell-esque. You fall in love with the arm, but it doesn't produce on the high level. So I think we're talking about Mayfield and Jackson as the standouts. I think Darnold's Andy Dalton.
All right. Wow. All right. So we're going to keep this in a time capsule, and then we're going to replay it. Maybe we'll review this the next time we record and see how accurate we were. And speaking of Vegas, I think that we have our resident NBA analyst, Travis Claus, who's desperately trying to figure out how quickly he can leave the airport and get to a sports book to put in bets for the draft. You and I will talk about our arrangements and how we're getting there, but I think we're going to have to put some bets on this too to make it a little bit more interesting before we go to our show that we're going Thursday night.
Yeah, so I won't be betting because it's a sport competed at the NCAA level. But you will bet, and I will support you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So speaking of Vegas, the biggest event that's happening while we're in Vegas that we have carved out time to do is go see Marvel's Infinity War. Infinity War had its premiere last night in Los Angeles. I've read some early reviews that had no spoilers, thank goodness. And it's getting really solid reviews, Franco. I don't know if you've read any of them, but it did alleviate my fear that could this potentially be terrible? Because it is a hefty endeavor to take on 10 years worth of films and condense them into one main storyline and juggle almost 25, 30 characters that you've had spread out throughout all these films. I'm excited. The tone that they are hinting at in the reviews is it could be very Empire Strikes Back-esque, which would make sense, and I anticipated because they had already made the call to split the Avengers 4 film, which won't come out for another year, into technically originally it was going to be Infinity War Part 1 and 2, but then they dropped the part section of it and just called it Infinity War for the first one, and then Avengers 4 Untitled for second one, which apparently the title, as we discussed I believe last week, lends itself to and tips its hand as to what happens in Infinity War. But Franco, are you excited about this? Are you nervous? What is your emotion right now?
I'm nervous. I'm excited, but I'm nervous. I actually went back for research because we are professionals. I watched Civil War last night, and I think it's interesting to go back and watch movies in the series because they've kind of gotten better as time's gone along.
Yeah.
And watching Black Panther and then watching Civil War is almost kind of difficult because we all were in love with Civil War when it came out, but there are spots in it that don't make sense. Like even the standoff battle where they're facing off in this airport that's suddenly empty.
Yeah.
There's a lot of plot holes like that. I'm a little worried about the idea of Thanos coming into the world that's already suffered through an alien invasion and the Dark Elf invasion and all these huge events. But we'll see what happens. I think it's going to be good, and I want to actually revise my brave pick of the other day.
Okay.
I don't know how neither of us realized this, but neither of us mentioned that Vision will probably die in Civil War, and that's a huge oversight.
You're right, because Vision does have the mind gem, so that would make sense because at the end of the trailers, Thanos has his giant gauntlet, and that gauntlet has the gem that's in its head, so it's kind of like a little bit of a spoiler. I mean, you're assuming that somebody dies, and probably Vision, and apparently a lot of people end up dying, but you and I both know as comic book nerds that death in any context in the comic book universe doesn't necessarily mean actual death. It might just mean in that timeline they died, or their spirit was magically whisked away and now they could be put back in their body. You know there's going to be some shenanigans like that, Franco, but I'm excited. It is 2.5 hours long. I'm paranoid about having to use the bathroom. I will be sitting on the aisle so I can run to the bathroom and run back. I've already called it. I'm calling it live on this show. I got the tickets. I call the aisle. So I want to make sure that I can use the bathroom and still make it in time and not miss anything. But I'm psyched for this. I think it's going to be awesome. And then things that might not be as awesome. The Venom trailer, the new one, was dropped last night. And you get to see for the first time Venom. And it's a thing.
Please
I don't
continue.
know. You didn't see it. I don't want to spoil it.
No, please spoil it for everybody watching.
Essentially, they are giving into the premise that there are multiple symbiotes out there. They call it symbiotes. How's it pronounced? How do you pronounce that?
Symbiotes, I think.
Symbiotes? Yeah, I don't know. I'm very thrown off. But anyway,
gooey things.
Those things, the aliens. There's the premise in this film that they have multiple aliens. So the implication in this trailer is that Eddie Brock, played by Tom Hardy, gets infected when he's attacked by a woman who already has the symbiote inside of her. So I think they're going all 90s Maximum Carnage style, Franco, where there were multiple Venoms. And the rumor is that Woody Harrelson, who was cast in the film, plays Carnage. Which, if that's true, I am all in on a Woody Harrelson, Cassidy Carnage. I am so stoked for it. But besides that, the trailer itself it's okay. It's kind of like, remember, I think the movie was Mr. Nice Guy starring Jackie Chan, or The Suit. Remember he had the suit, right?
The tuxedo.
The tuxedo. It reminded me of the tuxedo because that is how they play into Venom's powers, where it just randomly happens. And I immediately thought the tuxedo, and I don't think that that's what they wanted me to think.
Yeah, I wish I cared more about this film. I don't. I'm a little weary of Tom Hardy's turn as Bane, honestly, because that's a very iconic character and villain that he screwed up horribly. And now we're handing him another very iconic character and villain / anti-hero, who it seems like he's never going to screw up anyway. I am excited about Woody Harrelson. I'd watch Woody Harrelson mow a lawn.
Me too.
I mean, it was released as a movie, as long as he had an audio on. Yeah, I'll wait for. I don't know if I'll probably see this in theaters, but I think I'll wait for like the dollar theater rerun, which may happen quickly with this film.
And this has been designated as a certified Movie Pass film by me already, even though it doesn't come out in October. So if you own Movie Pass, use it for this one. All right, Franco, what did you learn today?
I learned that sometimes technology can get weird and cut out on us, but we drive through. And I'm debating how we're going to edit that. Maybe we won't, because we are real here on the BFF show. Brendan, what did you learn?
I learned that your HD camera is the closest thing to seeing you in real life, which I'm excited to do tomorrow. And you cut a striking figure, my friend, in HD, and you should be proud of that.
Yeah, I totally on the same page, except for you're not seeing the HD camera, you're seeing just the web camera. The HD camera is set up behind the laptop. So thank you for the compliment. And I'm so happy that I popped so much off the screen that even in SD, I am high definition.
And I want you to never talk about yourself as just simply SD, Franco. You are always HD to me, my friend. For the BFF show, my name is Brendan.
I'm Franco.
Bye.
Peace.
Hello from the other side.